What's up, everyone? My name is Gilbert, part of the 300 Club. This is episode 7. We're gonna break some things down with the Mets. It's been a couple weeks since we recorded due to vacations, but we back. I got my co-host right here, Kelvin, part of the Encoded media, just like me, and we active, man. We back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So welcome back to our channel, guys. This is the 300 Club. As Gilbert mentioned, we had a little bit of a layoff, but now we back. We officially back. Hopefully, gain some momentum as the season progress. Speaking about the season, we do have a lot of topics to get into. It's going to be a real good episode with you guys. So first things first, on a positive note, Gilbert had the pleasure of visiting City Field recently. Homie saw the Braves and the Giants play against the Mets. Tell me a little bit about the experience. How was that for you?
So yeah, I went to the last 2 weeks. I went to a game each week. I saw the Braves. This was before, right before Acuna got hurt too, and I actually saw him hit a home run, so that was pretty cool. We lost, of course. Um,
Excuse me, my bad. My dog is out here getting excited. My fault. My fault.
Nah, but the seats was great. I went with my boy. We sat around the third base side, a couple rows behind the dugout, closer to the foul line. I was talking to the back to the ball boy too, and I got a base out of it, so I was happy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got a base one. It was an
Oh, that's
actual.
fire.
It was a single from Brandon Nimmo, so it was an actual batted ball.
That's fire.
Yeah, it
That's
has the
fire.
smudge, it has the dirt on the bottom. So I'm
Yes,
happy.
sir.
We lost, but it was a good vibe. It was just a little cold. And then the week after, I got some free tickets to see the Giants. The seats was further up, but it was a vibe.
Nice.
Still went with my boy again, and it was a great game until we lost. We were winning, and then we allowed a grand slam against the Giants. And yeah, it went downhill out of there. We almost had a comeback in the ninth, but it didn't happen. But overall, it was good to go to the ballpark. It's been like a year that I haven't been to the ballpark, and it's always good vibes.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. Actually, I went to go see a Yankee game, I think like a week or 2 weeks ago. They were doing the giveaway for the jerseys. For first
Wow.
off, for anybody going to any game, well, let's say New York sports. If you want to get something like a giveaway, you have to get there like literally an hour before game time. If not, you are not gonna get that giveaway.
Maybe
So
earlier.
yeah, maybe even earlier than that, to be honest with you. Like when it's bobblehead night, like the
Yeah,
exclusivity with those things, man, you gotta make sure that you get there early. So me and my girlfriend, we went and we got like the hockey jerseys, the New York hockey
live.
jerseys. Yeah, it was really, really dope. Really, really good quality. I was actually shocked on the quality of it. Cause like sometimes like the giveaways, like the apparel is probably not the best thing. But the quality on that was amazing. So I love that thing. I love that thing. Damn, I should have wore it, but it was a really good thing. But the Yankee, I definitely miss going to the Yankee game. I feel like last year I didn't really go as much because I feel like last year it just wasn't it. This year, obviously there's a lot more buzz going on. We're gonna dive into that. But to stay on the topic in terms of the Mets, they're struggling right now. It's looking really, really bad. What are some impressions that you felt like you had watching the Mets play live in person?
It's hard, bro. It's
Really?
really hard because like you trying to you like me and my boy, we was really like analyzing like the quirks of the game, like pitch selection. Why is he throwing this pitch instead of that pitch? Location, game plan against other hitters, and then on the flip side on offense, like not thinking too big, be simple, pass a baton, keep it pushing. Sometimes I don't see enough of that, or like the timely hits are important too, the momentum swings. So that's things that I picked up on going to these games.
Well, what were some of the expectations that you had going into the season? And at this point, about approximately a month and some change in, how do you feel like, well, we're pretty much like a third of the way through, which
Yeah,
is even
for sure,
crazy.
for sure.
Um, how do you like, what were some expectations going in and up until this point right now? Like, where are you at right now in terms of a Met fan?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm very defeated right now, and this sucks because I wanted
Really?
more to talk about the Mets, but I would say that coming into the season, like I've said before, I don't have massive expectations to be in the playoffs, but I also did not expect to be one of the worst teams in baseball. I expected us to be somewhere around 500, somewhat playing competitive ball, winning some close games. Man, May, my favorite month of the year because it's my birthday, but May, bro, for the Mets, it's been brutal. These guys losing game after games that they're probably up like early in the game. They collapse at the end, games that they should have won and they lose. Like it's easy to get disappointed as a fan. So imagine being as a player, like, damn, we can't get it done, we can't get it over. And you have a lot of questionable players that are on contract years and whatnot. So it's tough,
A-
bro. And
Absolutely.
and now, like we're one of the we the bottom third worst record in the National League right now. So I'm massively disappointed. Um,
Yeah.
it might be time to split the core up and be sellers, man, and gain some assets back and pay the young guys.
Right, which is something that I did want to ask you about as we took a look at the standings right now in terms of the NL East. The Mets right now are 23 and 33, so you guys are 10 games below 500. Could have been worse. Could be worse. I'm not gonna lie. The way that the team has been playing, the morale seems a little bit low. It's hasn't really been the best, but in terms of like your approach towards the trade deadline, like what are some things you feel like the team needs to change? I saw that you guys sent down Beatty. You guys have made some roster moves. You guys dropped Jorge Lopez, which we're gonna get into a little bit deeper. But as we take a look at the standings here, like what are some expectations going to the trade deadline? What do you feel like the game plan should be going forward? Actually,
I feel like by the deadline, the Mets are definitely out the race, which I predict.
yeah,
They have to consider, are they going to trade Pete Alonso? Because if you don't sign him back, you don't also want to let him go for nothing. Maybe JD Martinez, I really like to do it. I think he's a great vet and a leader, but it might be worth trading him too because he's still producing. He's a veteran. He's a hitter, and he has value. And McNeil, I think it's time to get him out of here too.
Really.
Yeah, I feel like he's becoming a little toxic to the ball club, and his performance is not even close to his best years. So,
Yeah, I
oh,
think it is time to probably move on for McNeil. To be honest, I look at him more as like a stopgap type of infielder utility guy. I think at this point you probably give a lot of the young players a little bit more playing time, I guess. But we shall see. I do want to switch gears into somebody that's been let go of the team, let go by the team, should I say, and that's Jorge Lopez. What a meltdown that was. I mean, let's be honest, the dude hasn't really been pitching that well this year. He's been struggling. He might have some personal shit going on too. You never know. But what are some opinions that you want to share about the blow up with George Lopez or Hey Lopez?
so it seemed like the breakdown happened was that I think there was a play for third. Jorge Lopez as the reliever, he threw the third, and the ball I think that either deflected or hit the umpire at third base. I don't
Hmm.
know if he took that personal. I don't know if he was bothered by it, but I believe the next batter, I think it was Otani batting up against the Dodgers. He did a check swing, and I guess Lopez felt like he swung. The third base umpire said no, and I guess he had an argument with the third base umpire, and the third base umpire took him out the game. As he's getting out the game and walking towards the dugout, he tosses his glove above the netting in the dugout side. A
Which
fan,
is crazy.
yeah, a fan catches it, and then he's out the game. As the game ends, we lose, of course. Um, and then the media goes after him. But before the media goes after him, the Mets, I believe they had a team meeting. I think led by Lindor and a few others. And then after that, the media was let in, and they asked some questions to Lopez in regards to either his performance or his ejection or how he feels, etc. And Jorge Lopez, I believe he's Puerto Rican. English is his second language. He's much more comfortable speaking Spanish, but he decided to speak on his own in English. Props for him. And he got misquoted. It seems that he got misquoted, saying he plays for the worst team, but I think he really meant to say that he's the worst teammate playing on a bad team.
Right.
And I guess they try to ask him again, and somehow he doubled down. But I'm a firm believer that it just in the heat of the moment, I feel like he just probably wasn't 100% sure of what he was actually saying. I'm also concerned why the team interpreter was not there if they're available there for other players that need them. So I feel
Right.
like for me as a fan, I feel like it looks a little bad from the Mets perspective as an org because it looks like you kicking another man while he's down. He's already struggling off the bullpen. He's a former All Star a few years ago. So and I found something out that he's dealing with an illness from his child. His child has an illness, and they're
Oh
looking
my
for like a
God.
transplant. So imagine that. Like, remove the baseball side. Just think about it as a human going through that, and you got to worry about meeting expectations in New York. You got the media on top of you. The team is already being horrible this year. The vibes is not great, and now you're getting released because you got misquoted. Like that's tough. That's a lot of things that happen in the span of a few hours.
It
So it's
is. It
tough.
is. Absolutely. And to piggyback off what you were saying, like I feel like he was misquoted, even though the first time I saw it, I thought he said that this is the worst team.
That's what
Um,
I heard the first time too.
and then he kept saying something in the midst of like, if they want me here, cool. If not, I don't care. So just like the optics of it,
Yeah,
I feel like he was probably misunderstood. I felt like the translator definitely needed to be there. I mean, props to him for taking, the moment and wanting to address the media himself. But clearly, by the way that he's speaking, he was not ready for that,
no.
and unfortunately, it cost him. It cost him, the chance to play for the Mets right now, which is, it just sucks. It really sucks. And then,
It cost them a job too because perception goes around fast, you know. So what if other teams
yeah,
be hesitant to not pick him up, all because of a misunderstanding, or some may feel like, oh, he's disrespecting the game, being traditionalist baseball fans. But at the end of the day, like sometimes you gotta have grace, man, because at the end of the day, you may have emotions over something that's not going right for you. But I could see that as passion too. Like he actually wants to perform, you know. It's not like he's out there on purpose trying to be bad, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
right. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. I actually want to touch base on that a little bit. Um, like he showed that I think he's a talented player. Like he's a former all-star. He's a great reliever, great closer, and not too many years far removed. We don't know what these athletes do if day in and day out. We're not professional athletes. We're not in the clubhouse. We don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But from what I understood out of it, but the scenario that you just painted, he's dealing with some things with his child. That's very, very personal, very, very touching. He's not performing well. He's mad at himself for not performing well. The team isn't performing well. I would want somebody on my team because that simply shows that they care. Like he's not trying to throw in the towel. However, it was bad optics, the fact that he did throw out the glove. It was just horrible, dude. Like the whole experience was just really, really bad,
But
unfortunately.
to rebuttal that, I've seen worse. I feel like he
Yeah.
didn't aim the glove at anybody. He just tossed it up, and a fan won out of that. Like he won an experience. He got a professional glove. Like for example, like what I've seen worse. I've seen for example, like a David Ortiz. He gets mad at the umpire. He goes to the dugout. Gets a bat and he's breaking a phone booth.
Right.
That's
He's making a
I think
phone booth, throwing
I
the
think that's
batting
much more
gloves.
dangerous than throwing a glove. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I feel like if he was a superstar right now, he probably just they'll look the other way and keep it pushing. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been really bad timing too. Like you said, they had a team meeting right before that, so feelings could have been high. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But one last thing I do want to touch upon about the Mets, something that I'm actually eager to know your opinion on. We spoke about it briefly yesterday, but it is Francisco Lindor. As a Met fan, has he lived up to the contract? What are some quick thoughts on Francisco Lindor?
Damn, bro, that's a very hard question to answer
I
because
know. I mean, we do have a lot to catch up on. Let's just say that we missed two, 3 weeks. So
people feel split about that question you asked. A lot of people like metrics may justify that he's somewhat worth this contract. I believe he's a top 15 paid player in baseball currently. Um,
yeah, no, that's a good
Still
point.
hasn't made an
Absolutely.
all. He still hasn't made an All Star team in his 4 years, I believe, in New York, and that's concerning to me. Like, I guess you don't have to make the starter All Star team because that's mostly coming on fan votes and player votes. But if you're reserve, that's usually coming from coaches, and if coaches don't value you or see you as a star, it's like, damn, like we're paying you this much, and you can't even like have that to justify your contract in the sense. Like, yeah, like the year we won 100 plus games, he was really good. Other than that, every other year or every year, he starts the season very slow, bro. It's
Yeah.
a slow starter, and then by the time he gets hot, the team is already somewhat out the race. You know what I mean? You playing
It's
catch.
they're already sinking. Absolutely. No, I
So,
definitely
so, so
understand.
now so now I'm questioning, like, are you the player that steps up in high leverage moments, or do you hide? And the last 2 years, he's ended the season in a better trajectory around after the All Star break, but the Mets are already out of the race. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
at the end of the year, if you look at surface value numbers, you'd be like, okay, combining his defense, his run production and stuff, he stole 31 bases last year. You'd be like, okay, he had a decent season. Yeah, a 254 average with an 800 plus OPS, which is is good. Is good. But man,
It's that jump. It,
when
I,
them
I
game
I want him to make that jump. That's what it is.
when them
For
game
me.
counts, bro, is he's not there for me, bro. And I want at least a version of Cleveland Guardians or Indians version of Lindor, on offense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like we could go ahead and take a look at his profile from back when he was playing for the Indians, Guardians, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Like, bro, he was dead ass, like, dead seriously, like a 280, 300 hitter.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
insane. Phenomenal defense. Um, I would love to dive deeper into like his batting stance a little bit because I think that might be throwing him off just a little bit. He might be too relaxed at the plate. Um, but I mean, the dude has been struggling for far too long, bro. And I feel like, for himself getting paid that much, yes, his defense is phenomenal, but the Mets do expect more out of him offensively, and it's there. The power is definitely there. But I do think, and it sucks to say this, but I do think that maybe he is a little bit overrated.
He might be just a
You
little bit
know?
overrated.
Yeah, yeah, and that sucks to say. That sucks to say, but we want to go ahead and switch gears into, I guess, more positive news. We want to get into the Yankees really quickly. First and foremost, the Yankees have been playing pretty phenomenally. I want to go ahead and share this really quickly. They've been playing really, really well. I think it's them and the Phillies as top two teams right now in the MLB. Obviously, you still got the Dodgers there who are trying to put it together. But the Yankees right now, we're 20 games over 500, and the last 10 games we're 6-4. We won 2 games in a row, which is phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie, probably the schedule hasn't really been that difficult yet. But one thing that I do want to stand out, that I do want to actually highlight about the Yankees right now, oddly enough, bro, is their starting pitching. Their starting pitching has been phenomenal. More importantly, with somebody specifically that I would like to highlight, let me go right here and try to bring that up for you guys real quick. And that's Luis Hill. Dude,
He's in the
Luis
middle, right?
Hill. Yo, bro, he honestly speaking, bro, like they're probably gonna give like an innings. I can't really put it up right now. Let me actually search it up. But Luis Hill right now, bro, like this dude is arguably could be like rookie of the year. In all seriousness, like we go ahead and dive into his stats right now, dude. And yo, bro, his ERA is 1.99. 1.99, dude. He's a rookie. Like this dude is phenomenal, phenomenal. But the pitching staff as a whole, you got the Carlos Rodons in the world, you got Nestor Cortez, you got Clark Smith, who just went down with a recent injury. But the pitching staff, in the absence of Garrett Cole, has absolutely held it down. And I don't think any of us probably projected them to be that good. The pitching staff. And I will say that, dude, it's like a competition, a healthy competition amongst them, where each starter is going 5 to 7 innings, less than 3 runs per game. And shout out to Matt Blake, the pitching coach of the Yankees. Like the what he's doing with that staff has been phenomenal. But more importantly, Carlos Rodon and Marcus Stroman being the veterans of the team, pitchers that arguably last year they didn't pitch up to the best of their ability have come into this year. Carlos Rodon came in better shape, as I mentioned before in the previous episode. Marcus Stroman was real, a lot of Yankee fans were a little bit iffy on him. Is he going to perform? Is he not? What's going on with that? But the pitching staff has been absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. I can't rave about it enough. I would say that if anything towards the trade deadline, just you can never have too much pitching. I think that we could just still keep targeting more pitching. But even that, bro, we have the reigning AL Cy Young coming any day now. And that's insane. That's insane. Any thoughts you want to share on that real quick?
I saw a stat recently that the Yankees in a 12-game stretch, the starters won 11-1. That's phenomenal.
Starters, yeah.
I feel like they have that chemistry now, and like you mentioned, it's Stroman, Rodon. These are players that were formerly All Stars, so they know what it takes to be good pitchers. And I feel
Yeah.
like he's spreading that knowledge to the youth, to the younger pitching staff like Smith and Gill. But I would say I was speaking with another friend of mine he's a passionate Yankee fan, and I was asking him, should the Yankees go in a 6-man rotation when Garrett Cole comes back, or who's the one that's being out of the rotation, right? He was telling me that it's probably likely that Louis Gill is probably going to be sent down, even though he's having a phenomenal year, only because a guy like Garrett Cole, he doesn't really like pitching out of like order or out of his traditional days of rest.
Yeah.
So, like a guy like him that's a veteran and has a routine and he's so sharp, he wouldn't want to be in a 6-man rotation because it'll throw his mojo or whatever preparation off. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
What I think they can do though to alternate that is still keep a 6-man rotation, but every fifth day Garrett Cole starts, and then every other pitcher from the rotation takes 6 days. Maybe that's a solution. You maximize what you got. That's something that's I'd rather have that problem than my team's problem. And 20
Right.
games over 500, man. The Yankees are really phenomenal right now on the offense side, on the defense side, on the pitching side, they're likely my favorite as of now to win the ring this year. If
Yeah.
if up. So
Yankee fandom aside, like honestly speaking, this team really does look complete.
yeah,
Like, there are years where, Yankee fans are always saying, oh, the Yankees gonna win the chip this year. But you can find your holes there. But
and
this year, honestly, really looks complete. I want to piggyback off of something that you just said, and that's going to a 6-man rotation. I believe the Yankees should go through a six-man rotation. And you brought up a phenomenal point, having Garrett Cole pitch every 5 days. If he likes to keep that as a five-man rotation, he likes to keep his routine. I understand that. I think that is a phenomenal, phenomenal approach to it. I think what you just said is something that the Yankees should definitely do. And I think that should be more often. Reason why is because originally Garrett Cole went down because he felt like he had a lot of arm fatigue. Like he felt as though like between his starts, he wasn't necessarily recovering as normal as he used to. Understandable. Garrett Cole has been a workhorse for years. So understandable as he gets older. He had a huge workload last year that his body is probably not recovering as fast. So if he wants to have his regular routine, have him pitch every 5 days. That's perfectly fine. Now we're not pitchers to understand the psychology of it, of other pitchers going on every 6 days, every 6 starters or whatever the case was it is. But that's a phenomenal point that you brought up. And I think that the Yankees should do that. Luis Gil, I think he's eventually goes into the bullpen because they're probably going to do an innings limit on that. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of like innings limit or none of that stuff. Just let them go. Just
I'm
let
not
them
even a
go.
fan of even considering moving him to the bullpen because I feel like you just limit everything, and then you might change again his routine and preparation. But it's because we know a reliever is much different than being a starter. You know.
Exactly. You have to start getting ready each and every day. So I think that maybe moving him to the minors is probably not a bad thing because that's like a go away from to get his reps. I just don't want that to ruin his confidence because right now his confidence clearly shows, you know. But I do think that it would be beneficial to the rest of the staff to go through a six-man rotation. I think that's perfectly fine. Now it's a little bit different because Clark Smith is going to be out. We don't really know what the extent of his lat injury is. Pitchers who get lat injuries, it's a little bit tricky because you do use your back a lot, especially and when you throw as well. So it's a little bit different. But that was a phenomenal point that you brought up. I hope that somebody in the Yankee organization hears what we just said. But I think that would actually be phenomenal. It'll allow Garrett Cole to recover, having or for him to be in a routine more or less the way that he wants to, and I kind of give everybody, I don't want to say a breather, but at least an extra day's of rest so they could be as fresh. Um, but even if we decide to move certain pieces towards the bullpen, I'm not mad at that either. I mean, it's a long season, bro. Like you mentioned that the Yankees been 11-1. The starters have been 11-1. And I say the starters because we live in a world now where starters go 4 or 5 innings and they might not even qualify for a win. A win for the pitcher is like it doesn't even matter anymore, which is crazy. But you know, they were able to get deep into ball games. And just shout out to the Yankee pitching staff for that, for real. For real. And then to switch over to the offensive side, I mean, we're finally seeing the potential of Judge and Soto together in the lineup. Now, you don't have to be a Yankee fan, but you do got to appreciate the fact that you got two of the best hitters in the game hitting back to back. It just so happened that they play for the Yankees. But left right combination. Oh man, it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch.
I was gonna say too, like pitching aside, like I feel like that's also the biggest difference with the Yankees. Like, yes, you have Soto, but I believe I mentioned on or off camera in the past, like what the Yankees needed this offseason is to add more left-handed hitters. They have Verdugo, they have Soto, they have Austin Wells, and they have
Trent Grisham is in there.
yeah, I
Oswaldo
don't think
Cabrera was hitting more off
like
the left side.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
just adding those hitters, and you have Rizzo. So adding those
And
hitters
Rizzo. Yep.
is the whole dynamic of the lineup. You don't got to go lefty righty, or bring a lefty specialist just for a lefty. Because the lineup is varied, right? So I want to bring up some numbers for Judge and Soto. Aaron Judge, after a slow start when people was coming for him, which I was saying, you got to give the guy some time, man. This guy, he's been elite practically every year he's been in the big. So it's only right he's
And
gonna.
and there were Yankee fans panicking too. Let's just say that. Let's
Nobody
just
should
say
have
that.
panicked, but hey, he's hitting 275 now, right? 17 homers. I believe he leads the league or second in homers in the league right now. 39 RBIs. And his OPS is over 1,000. Like this dude is crushing the ball. He's carrying the team. He's being phenomenal, passing the baton. Juan Soto, 312 average, 15 home runs, 46 RBIs. OPS just under 1,000 at 990. Man, these dudes, man, and they don't strike out like that. especially Soto, who takes walks, gets on base, and sets up the table for Judge. Man, how do you pitch to that, man? And
And I do want to add another name onto that as well, because along with Juan Soto and Judge, there's one specific hitter that bats in front of them and sets the table, and
that's
that has been the emergence of Anthony Volpe.
oh yeah, the
He
yeah,
had a hitting streak over 20 games,
yeah.
has been, and it's not even just the hitting streak, it's what he's doing defensively on the base paths. Bro, he gets on base, he's still second, and or not even that, actually. There are many times that he gets on base, a single, a walk, doesn't matter. And then Juan Soto rips a single or so, and he's already on his way to third. Volpe's already on his way to third. Like, that's insane. Like, this is how a lineup should more or less function, you know? And then who's gonna want to pitch the Judge right after? Stanton, super stepped on this year. I mean, people had reason to, you know, he probably wasn't the best last year, and he'd be the one to admit it as well. But he's killing this year too. It's like, does this lineup 1 through 6? No complaints, bro. No complaints
Contagious,
at all.
man, and they're playing good ball. And again, when you have two position players like Judge and Soto, who you can make the case that are top 10, maybe top five positional players, man, you have a chance, man, on the offense side. You have a chance. Before we wrap it up, because time's ticking, I want to segue into news that happened this past Wednesday with the MLB and the Negro Leagues.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to speak about how MLB finally integrated Negro League baseball stats into the all-time baseball records. And there's a lot of split opinions on that situation. I'm not sure if you're aware. I'll let you go first, and then I'll just say my opinion and what I think about that move by Major League Baseball.
All right. But I'm a people pleaser, so like usually like whoever goes first and they share their opinion, I tend to like to agree and see that side of it, and then maybe add like my 2 cents. But since I'm going first, my genuine opinion is, um, I don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it is because, unfortunately, because of the circumstances back in the day, the Negro League only played less than 100 games per season. I think it was only like 50 games a season or something like that. Therefore, a lot of like these averages, these OPSs, these slugging percentages look very much inflated, but because they don't really play the whole year, you know, and it's like that. So I can't help but look at it with a little bit of an asterisk. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's phenomenal that, you know, these players are being recognized for their accomplishments. I feel like it was extremely long overdue, like extremely long overdue, to the point where, honestly speaking, I don't really care. Like, you know, it is what it is, but uh, you know, they deserve to have that recognition. I wish it happened a long time ago. I do think that because they do play a shorter season, that you could kind of look at it, it was like with an asterisk and stuff like that. But you know, at the end of the day, I feel like it was just long overdue. It should have something that should have been happened. Um, hot take. I feel like the MLB needs to honestly stop focusing so much on the past. Let the past. I've never witnessed a league. Sorry if I keep stuttering. I've never witnessed a league that emphasizes so much on their history as much as the MLB does. I feel like these are things that should have happened a long time ago. I don't know why you guys are doing it nearly 100 years later. Like, come, these guys are dead. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like they can't even celebrate it as much as. Where's Bob Gibson at now? I don't know. That's my opinion.
I mean, I didn't expect you to say that take, like that opinion. You caught me off guard. But I like your opinion. Me personally, I'm like split 50-50 on it. I think this should be acknowledged for sure. They should be
I agree with that.
voted and they should be accepted, right? What I think the MLB did wrong is I feel like they're doing this. Hot take, hot take. I think they're doing this to save face, to try to erase the negative history from back then by not allowing Negro leagues
That's
because
not a hot take.
the NBL is not the only Negro league that played back then. There's other leagues too, right? But the Negro League is the one, the Negro Baseball League is the one that's accepted into the records now, right? I feel like they're trying to erase the history that at some point in humanity and in history, we as society, not me, but we as society didn't allow certain people of color, or people of color, or people that look a certain way to be integrated into the masses. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's dumb trying to clean up the image, and I feel like it's way too late for that. And I feel like they should have took an approach how the NBA did, even though that one is not really race related, but I think makes the most sense. I feel like the stats should be acknowledged, they should be counted, but they should not be mixed up with the. So, for example, the NBA and the NBA and the ABA, there were two basketball leagues in the past, right? Over time, when the ABA got defunct and the NBA took some teams from the ABA, they acknowledged those stats, but they kept them in a separate file. They didn't combine them. That way, you don't try to erase someone's legacy. For example, Josh Gibson now is the all-time batting average leader. He's third all time in OBP, and he's the all-time leader in career slugging, right? So that tells me is the former player who was the leader in average. His name is Ty Cobb. Some people know him. If you're on the older side, you know who that is, right? He was the all-time leader in hits prior to this integration of the stats, right? And I feel like now I'm not the biggest fan of him, but it erases the things that he's done in the past. You know what I mean? Like, for example, Babe Ruth was considered the all-time leader in slugging. Now he's second. Now that's kind of erasing the history and the impact of Babe Ruth's game because you integrated both stats. And you made a good point. I didn't even know it was that much less games from the Negro Baseball League. But at the end of the day, my take to that too is I have a hard time allowing those numbers to be mixed in because yeah, Negro leagues, they had a lot of stars in their own way. They had a lot of great talented black players, but I feel like you're also not facing the best of the best from the Major League Baseball. You know what I mean?
I
And
agree. I
I think
agree.
it's a little unfair to try to reduce someone's legacy just to have everybody integrated. So I feel like to close it up, I feel like they should have kept the Negro Leagues baseball on a certain side, but acknowledge them. Know what I'm saying? Like promote them, and this way you could allow the youth and black kids and color kids to get into baseball again and play this game as a kid. Oh wow, this guy was amazing and he did that. I could probably redo that. But on the record, a lot of people also say that Josh Gibson was probably the best player of all time. I can't say that because I never seen him, and I'm learning about him. I'm gonna be the show now, of course. They have a
Right, right.
section, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I feel like MLB is really trying to just save face and do a positive PR. But like as always, Major League Baseball is always out of tune. I feel like they don't be as in touch as other sports leagues. I feel like the NBA is the best league right now in terms of pushing the culture forward and understanding the fan needs and all of that. And like you said, like you feel like as a fan, as a baseball passionate fan, you feel like baseball worries too much about the past. And I feel like the reason I think they do it is because I feel like they have the richest history out of all the pro sports, like the longest tenure league. So they have that history to look back and reflect on. But I feel like there's also a lot of things to appreciate from the current times and the present era that you don't always have to go back to the past. You don't always got to go back to things that people haven't seen. So that's just my
Yeah.
take on
I want to leave with a last nugget, maybe another hot take. Um, Before we wrap this up, I feel like the MLB has been focusing too much on the past. I feel like there has to be a point where, there's a thing called like the live ball era. And then there was like
it.
an era before that. Like they kind of like divide eras. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I
yeah,
feel like right now MLB kind of needs to reset what the era is. And the reason like even like with retired numbers, honestly, and I have a big complaint about this being a Yankee fan. We have way too many retired numbers, and honestly speaking, we do have a couple heads that has their number retired that even should not have been retired. Seriously. So I feel like there should be a way where it's kind of like you hit a reset where it's like the numbers retired from this era to this era, and then there's a whole new era. I don't know. This is something that maybe we could put a little more thought into. But I do feel like MLB, I don't know. It was far too late to acknowledge them. Maybe there's a different way to go about it. Like you could go through like Josh Gibson's 50 game stretch in the Negro League comparing to Aaron Judge's last 50 games, and comparing like the slugging and everything. Maybe you could do those sorts of like acknowledgments. But no, you're absolutely right. I don't think it's a I mean, it could be a hot take. Maybe other people might have a different opinion on it. But I agree with a lot of what you said, actually. But we're running out of time now. I guess that will wrap up the episode here on the 300 Colors. This is episode 7. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, comment. We want to hear you guys' opinions. We back, man. We back.